Thank you, Deputy Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak at the concluding stages of the committee stage debates. One hears the word hora, horu continuously in the chamber. There, I can hear it again. Being traded from one side to the other fairly liberally. I will address that issue in a moment, but let me begin with something that I want to mention to this House in my capacity as a chair of the Committee on Public Finance. During the course of the budget debates, our committee was supposed to tender to Parliament 2 reports. We presented one report. And in that report, we raised a very serious issue that the estimates that were placed on our table on the day the budget was presented contains figures that are not accurate. Figures that the officials themselves knew to be not accurate. Because during the course of the committee deliberations, they admitted so and gave us another set of figures, stating that it was on the second set of figures that the minister actually made his budget presentation. In that report, we recommended that the figures of 12th November, which were said to be the actual figures, be distributed to all members, at least during the committee stage, and I regret that has not been done. We are all looking at estimates in those red books, which Ministry of Finance officials themselves have told us are not accurate. The second report we were supposed to present to this House was our comments on whether the government estimates actually reflect the government policy, whether money is well laid out in accordance with government policy. And we have tried to ascertain the government policy, and that is not easily forthcoming, because as in the last year, this year too, the Prime Minister made a statement prior to the budget, and then the Minister of Finance made his budget speech. And one is still left wondering which is the government policy. We have sought this information. We have asked officials and the ministers, the Prime Minister included, to provide to the committee a proper statement of government policy so that we can examine the estimates and comment on them for the House as to whether money has been well laid out in accordance with government policy. Unfortunately, we have not been able to do this during the course of the debate, but we will strive our best to do it early next year. With regard to corruption, it's very interesting that from the time I entered this House in 2010, allegations are made against the government, sometimes particular ministers. Certain words are used for certain ministers, and one is supposed to then deduce what that means. And today too, we heard different words being used for different ministers. Now, in the last Parliament, we saw that. And now some of that is coming out. I like to say, I'm not saying this in any patronizing way, but I like to say that those words are being used because there is knowledge in the country as to what the ministers are up to. A lot of the corruption that the ministers are involved in is no secret in this country. And that is why those words are used. a government that is just 2 years in office will do well to take heed of this and correct your ways. It's no use defending the government by asking the opposition, what did you do when you were in government? That is not the answer. Constantly, when this side was there, also the same thing was done. And it's being repeated. And what is most strange is that some who were ministers in the last government continue to be ministers in this government too. And those are the ministers who remain quiet when these allegations are traded, because they are always at the receiving end of the allegations. Even as soon as the government changed, we started hearing stories. We started hearing, and I'm going to use some words now which might ring bells. We started hearing about the Arikanat transactions of a minister who was in the previous government too and continues in this government. There are so many words that are being used. I won't go through the whole list. But I think this is a government that we also helped come into office. And I think we also have some right to expect better performance by this government. It is well known, and it is conceded even by the joint opposition, as they call themselves, that the President and the Prime Minister who head this government both are well above any of these allegations. I have not heard any allegations being leveled against either of them personally. But that is not enough. That is not good enough. The two leaders must ensure that they are ministers, leave alone the public officials, but their ministers are also above reproach. Sadly, that doesn't seem to be the case. If this continues, this government will not last. You must understand that the former government, who now shout hoarse, also came down because of corruption, mostly because of corruption. And it is unfortunate that many of you don't seem to learn those lessons, but are still continuing in those very ways. I'll cite one thing with regard to an allegation I made a few days ago in this house with regard to the 65,000 houses. On that day, I asked the minister concerned to deny, if possible, that one Ravi Vettasinghe is the local agent of ArcelorMittal. I asked him to deny, if possible, that it was Ravi Vettasinghe who was the local agent. He did not deny it. Now, I take it, therefore, that it is Ravi Vettasinghe who is a local agent of ArcelorMittal. This is a notorious figure in this country. He figures in the book called Thatcher's Fortunes, The Life and Times of Mark Thatcher. In 2002, I'm glad Honorable Ruwan Wijewardena is here. In 2002, he got into a brawl outside a nightclub when you were present. And it is reported how this happened and what kind of person this is. He is known to contribute towards political campaigns in millions. Was a local agent for a British bus consortium comprising 3 bus companies, Ibis, Transbus, and Mayflower. In 1993, Mr. Ravi Vettasinghe bought the government-owned Verahera bus factory, I mentioned this last time, for rupees 25 million, but ran into problems and eventually left the country, forcing the government to pay rupees 460 million in salaries for the workers. Now, this is the man who is a local agent of ArcelorMittal who wants to build those steel prefabricated houses. While he was away, he had reportedly contributed, now this will hit both sides, contributed rupees 7 million to the PA, during an election campaign, while also contributing towards the UNP election campaigns. So he is a man, no, that amount is not given. He is a man who funds both sides. Now, yesterday was the International Anti-Corruption Day, and His Excellency the President, while making a speech, responsibly stated publicly that even today, more than 50% of the tenders that are granted by his own government is riddled with fraud. Your own president said that publicly. I was in the same forum. I told him it's not 50%, it's more than 90%, and he did not dispute me. He did not dispute me. So why is this happening? I think if you have come together as national government to take the country forward, to make a new beginning for this country, you have to rid yourselves of corruption. Without that, this country will not go forward. The Honorable Minister of Finance is listening attentively. I am happy. I hope you will take all the necessary steps, and that it will not be necessary hereafter for anyone to be shouting at your colleagues and yourself, calling you all horu. There is one more thing. This morning when we convened as the Constitutional Assembly, Honorable Rauf Hakim, leader of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress, referred to xenophobia that is enveloping this country. And this is a very serious issue. And on the last day of this year, as we sit, I want to make certain mention of some of the trends that are happening. All of us know what's happening and are either unwilling or unable to arrest this particular trend. Honorable Dinesh Gunawardena mentioned a resolution that was passed, allegedly passed by the Northern Provincial Council. Honorable Minister of Justice mentioned this a few days ago in this House, and I want to correct both of them. There was no resolution passed by the Northern Provincial Council saying that no Buddhist temples can be built in the Northern Province. That is false and malicious. The only resolution they have passed is to say that no unauthorized structures of any religious institution, be it Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, or Christian, should be built. That is all that the resolution says, and I think you need to be careful before you make such inflammatory remarks in this House. You must ensure.
Well, Chairman, the Honourable Deputy Speaker, it was in the banner headlines in almost all the newspapers in this country and telecast in all the televisions.
Yes.
But there was no single denial either by the Chief Minister or any member of the Northern Provincial Council. Then am I responsible, law? Are they responsible for if it is a false?
I think what the Chief Minister has said, which is in the papers today, is he has referred to the Honourable Minister of Justice as a good friend, as somebody who knows him, and he has said he could have called and asked me. You see, if we are to, the media, you know what the media does in this country. You know what the media, how involved the media also is in fanning these flames. So one needs to be careful. No, what I am saying is, so the media, the media constantly does it. If we are to make disclaimers and denials, every day we will be issuing denials, right? So all that I am saying is that please ensure before you. No, anyway, now I have clarified. Take my word for it. I have clarified, right? So please don't make these inflammatory remarks again. No, we are fully in agreement. We belong to the same party, right? We are in agreement, and I defend that resolution that was passed by the Northern Provincial Council. I don't think any part of the country, any unauthorized structures should be put up, whether it is Buddhist, Christian, Hindu, or Muslim. Everybody must comply with the law, and if well, that is so. So you can, no, I'm talking about structures. Yeah. I'm not saying you can't worship. No, you mustn't. You try to do this morning also. So I'm talking about the construction of temples and places of worship. Now with regard to Buddhism also, one has to be very careful that you don't misrepresent to the country what we say. We respect Buddhism. We think the majority of this country who are Buddhists must have their due place in the country. We don't dispute that. And as we strive to draw up a new constitution, this issue of foremost place to Buddhism has again hit the headlines. One needs to be very, very careful, unless, of course, you deliberately want to cause mischief and mayhem in the country. One must be restrained in what you say. And we are striving to do that, and that is why we continuously keep saying we have no objection to some important special place be given to Buddhism. I'm prepared to say that even despite the fact that all of my constituency are not Buddhists. We will do that. So there is, but equality before the law of all the people of this country is also a principle I think all of us agree with. And that also must be ensured. Special place for certain historic, certain other reasons does not mean and cannot mean that others come second. All citizens of this country are equal. And that must be very clearly understood and laid out. So as we strive to do this, allay the fears of the majority, but at the same time, the people who are small in numbers in this country must also be assured that although their numbers are little, that they do have a place, that they are not second-class citizens. That must be assured. Now, please don't disturb me. So, therefore, in this difficult journey,
4 minutes.
Thank you. In this difficult journey that we have undertaken to draft a new constitution, we must act together. The fact that all parties represented in Parliament constitute the Constitutional Assembly and are represented in the steering committee is a good thing. This is a historic feat. The fact that the steering committee has met more than 40 times, I think 46 times or something like that, and been able to deliberate matters itself is a very positive thing. So we need to be careful as we go forward that we don't lose this opportunity. I am told that when we talk about the new constitution, various persons are getting worried about a referendum. Now, we have very clearly said, and I want to repeat what my leader has said in this House and in the Constitutional Assembly. We want a new constitution that all the people of this country approve of. And that definitely must include or should include the majority people of this country. A constitution will not stay as the constitution of the country if the majority of the people don't accept it. So we are not trying to do something that the majority people of this country do not want. But at the same time, we have the confidence that the majority people of this country are also reasonable people, are also people who will adhere to basic human values of equality, of equal citizenship. And that message must be taken to the majority people of this country. I'm rather disappointed that members who represent the majority community are fearful about going to their people and telling them this is the right thing to do. If they fear and they keep saying, we will lose a referendum, you will lose a referendum, I'm concluding, you will lose a referendum only because of corruption and nothing else, not because of the contents in the Constitution. So put your house right with regard to even perceptions of corruption. Be transparent, go before the people, convince your people that you are in fact involved in good governance. Tell your people that this is the right thing for us to do if we are to go into the future with all the smaller people who are smaller in numbers also agreeing that this is our country, we are no longer second class, we have equal stake, and together to forge the unity of this country that is necessary. So my final words as I wind down is, let's see a prosperous and a new era for Sri Lanka in 2017 with a basic social contract, which is a constitution, ensuring that as we go forward.